On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Supply chains, logistics, all these things are super hard things to kind of put together, keep together, and in some cases when you're doing nefarious things, kind of hard to keep secret. So we've got some very interesting situations that are starting to come to light, certainly about the whole logistics of how this people, transportation, are using people in bad ways, the slave trade, just a lot of this stuff, the way it's happening today. The way this information is brought to us, the way we are finding out about it, the way this is becoming common knowledge to people, people are waking up. Things are coming to the surface. And as this starts to happen, we start to experience this kind of system where I think the deep state is starting to truly see their lives swirl before them. I watched a lot of what was going on with Barr today, and basically all the Congress people, either A, they were Republicans and they were letting him talk and letting him answer questions, or B, they were on the left and they were just accusing him of all sorts of crazy stuff. They would ask him a question, and then the second he tried to answer it, they would cut him off. So again, it was one of those things where we're going to ask you questions, we're not going to let you answer, and everybody's going to kind of figure out what's going on as everything starts to swirl around the drain. Now, other things that were interesting, by the way, is at the end of the testimony or whatnot, the hearing, Biden did, I don't know, almost 30 minutes, an hour. I'm not sure how live he did, but he took questions. And at first he was pretty solid, I'll be honest. I was pretty impressed. But then he reached a point, and you kind of see him pick up his notebook. And he holds it up, and he's basically very poised to walk away. But he's got that, I'm going to give one last comment. But you could already hear, if you pay attention, what led up to him grabbing his notebook. Not to mention, I swear he had to have had help in his ears, but I didn't see anything, at least when he walked out. But he picks it up, he makes one last comment, and he stumbles in a couple places. He says a couple strange things, but you could tell right before he picked up the notebook that he'd already stumbled. Like, he was probably on some meds that were help keeping him sharp, and they were starting to wear off. You can only keep that kind of going for so long. So, I don't know, maybe something you want to keep in mind when you give it a watch. Now, just to get you fired up a little bit before we get into the heart of the matter, right on schedule as one would expect, the United Nations is intervening in U.S. domestic affairs, right? Of course. They're claiming Trump has no right to defend cities against left-wing terrorists. Like that? The UN's telling us we can't keep people from burning down our federal buildings? Oh, can't keep people from breaking windows, can't keep people from causing damage to humans and other things? That's not okay? UN, United Nations? Oh, what do you represent? Starting to see this weird thing on one side. As long as they're against Trump, even though Trump might be doing something cool like feeding a child, they're going to claim that the food's not healthy or something. I mean, no matter what he does, it does not matter. Now, again, one of the things I love when it happens, medical scandal, of course. J.K. Rowling, the infamous Harry Potter author, she's in a bit of hot water again on her tweet storm about how transgender contagion is apparently caught on. I didn't know, but apparently J.K. Rowling, who has become a doctor at some point, has now decided that transgender is some sort of like cancer, I guess. That's probably going to get her in a wee bit of hot water. And what's funny is her side's the side that's pretty heavy on this one, and they're the ones that are going to come down on her like a thunder like you've never heard. And again, they're like piranha, man. Doesn't matter if it's one of their own or if it's a cow that fell in there or whatever. All the piranha, choppy, chop, chop, chop. They don't care. They don't care. They don't pay any attention to whether or not it's morally okay to attack this cow or this person. Not saying she's a cow. VP, major military contractor. This guy's gotten busted for a lot of things. Now, to save a little time and money on this particular one, first thing, he ends up in jail. This is, I think, the lovely picture we're seeing here, for basically raping his daughter for a number of years. There's evidence and all sorts of stuff. So he gets like a couple year sentence. 3 months into it, they're like, hey, we're going to let you out. Everything's cool. And this happens to be this retired Army Major General James Grazioplin. So, yeah, I was supposed to get 20 years, my bad. And then after 18 months, he was going to get out. Because, that makes sense. 20 years, 18 months, practically all that time served. You can see it. But yeah, they did a little digging and come to find out, to put it bluntly, as they say, DynCorp was involved in a sex slavery scandal in Bosnia in 1999, with its employees accused of rape and the buying and selling of girls as young as 12. DynCorp, hired to perform police duties for the UN and aircraft maintenance for the U.S. Army, were implicated in prostituting the children, whereas the company's Bosnia site supervised filmed himself raping 2 women. A number of employees were transferred out of the country, but with no legal consequence for them. So not good. And then one might want to ask, well, like, who's DynCorp? What are they all about? Well, DynCorp, oddly, is kind of a logistics company. They do all sorts of things, but they essentially provide fleet management for air operations. They do training. They do aviation. They got logistics. They got global consulting. They've got this Phoenix Consulting Group. Lord knows what crazy stuff they're involved with. Probably some of the bad stuff. But they're a logistics company. And logistics basically is the movement of materials, sometimes raw, sometimes finished, but moving them from A to B, getting them to the actual, from the place of design and just building to the place of consuming, right? Which, if you think about from a sex trade or a human trade, consuming is a strange word because that's got all sorts of meanings. But again, major company used by the government, DynCorp, major guy involved with them, in huge, huge hot water for a lot of illegal, apparently, activities that have happened. Again, the acquisition and transporting, just so many things come into play. Now, again, one of the things that's funny about this whole situation that's unfolding, this swirling as it may, is you've got a lot of doctors that exist in the world that may not be on this little itty bitty panel that keeps saying, hey, here's what's true and here's what's false. This itty bitty panel that the government, deep state, whatever, uses. So we get these people that go out in DC, I believe, had a big press conference. Breitbart was behind it. That's where I'm right now, Breitbart. And I would look this up on Breitbart. I cannot share this. I cannot play this because, as you can see, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter, they've all censored this video. It's a 45-minute video. The part I heard was this young lady back here, and she's treated some 300-plus patients using hydroxychloroquine and the azithromycin and the zinc supplement. And she's talked about how she's had 100% success rate, and nobody under her care that has COVID, that's taken hydroxy, has ended up dying. That's what this 45 minutes talks about. And that's obviously why they don't like this video. Now, it's also, they talk about it here, Twitter censors videos of doctors at Capitol Hill coronavirus press conference. They locked the Breitbart account. So again, we've got Twitter locking accounts because people are sharing. They were doing a live stream of all this stuff. So Twitter deleted Breitbart's news Periscope live stream. They literally killed it, killed the stream, deleted it, whole 9 yards. Twitter has obviously had a number of issues recently where they have purposefully deleted things. And they are, it's coming. There's already talk right now that Google's being looked at for antitrust. Twitter, it's just a matter of time. Again, stuff is happening, especially after you watch the way Barr just had to get just ripped on, just destroyed. And some people on the left, I'm sure, are like, yeah, give it to him. And then I'm just sitting there watching and going, you asked him a question, you won't even let him answer it. Like, wow. That's just rude. Like, this guy is trying to help our government. You might disagree with his approach, but wow. So pretty crazy. And yeah, so anywho, another thing that's kind of interesting about this whole storm that's going on, one thing that's kind of interesting, well, for sure interesting, is it hit the coast twice. It's kind of weird. It can happen. You can get it to go like, and you can get a lot of circular rotating air masses in the Gulf. So again, I'm not going to say this is impossible, but I am also going to say that patents have existed since the 70s, and there are programs called HAARP, H-A-A-R-P. China's got versions of it. Russia's got versions of it, that you can actually heat the upper atmosphere, cause high-pressure systems. You can actually cause or affect, they say, weather. And certainly, we've got seeding technology that goes way back into the 70s. So one can only imagine all the crazy stuff they may have learned how to do. But this could be normal. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying it is. That being said, Hurricane Slamming has been a Cat 1, Category 1 since it's hit every time, which is, not a strong Cat 1, by the way. I think it was 90 miles an hour, somewhere around here. It talks about that. But that being said, there is a pretty sustained storm that somehow managed to hit two sections 24 kilometers north of Port Mansfield, and the second one hit in eastern Kennedy County. So kind of an interesting hurricane happened in the Gulf. Again, Trump talks about it and saying, hey, my administration is closely monitoring both, not just the one there in Texas, but also the one off of Hawaii right now. And that's Hurricane Douglas. And then you've got Hurricane Hannah, which is the one in Texas. So if they're going to continue to coordinate closely with both states, listen to your emergency management officials. Hawaii_EMA and at TDEM to protect your family and property. A couple things that are interesting that he calls out here. Emergency management, something Trump's talked about in the past. When all the censoring starts to happen, that is one Trump card he's got, is the ability to use the emergency management system to communicate with all of us via our cell phones and all sorts of other things. I think that's kind of a call out to that. And then on top of that, I feel like he's kind of just saying, hey, and a good idea is to try to, one, listen to this information, but two, calling out, protect your family and property. Like, stay vigilant for yourselves and for the people you love and for the people around you and for your neighbors and those you care about. So Trump is certainly there hoping for the best with the people in Texas and Hawaii. Another thing that's interesting, and again, this is as the swirling around the drain seems to happen, lawyers for Ghislaine Maxwell are trying to keep X-rated evidence from going public. Now, a lot of people would say, well, you don't want that to get out. That might ruin people's lives and whatnot. What this actually represents is someone blackmailing the people who have her. And that's exactly what's going on. She's essentially saying, look, either we make deals, we talk, whatever her desires are, I don't know what she's going after, or some damning information is released. Now, I'll say there's probably a lot of people that are like, yeah, definitely release the damning information. We'd like that. But the deep state really doesn't want that to happen. So are we down to the last few days that she somehow hasn't managed to be able to commit suicide? Or, and I'm using finger quotes almost around that, or is something going to happen? Is information coming out? What's going on? Seems like something's kind of evolving there and coming to a head, coming to a moment where something needs to happen. Something that's kind of interesting that ties into all this as well, and it's sort of the way this deep state works, especially with, if it's men, but I would assume with women there's other ways to manipulate. But in cases of men, certainly men in power or positions where they're able to share their opinions freely. Tucker and Hannity both have something unique about them. They're both two people that have large audiences that follow them, which means if you fired Hannity from Fox News, someone else would gobble him up and all of his people would go to wherever that is. Tucker Carlson's the same way. He left, ABC or whoever the heck he was with and came to Fox, brought a lot of people with him. Both these guys have insanely high ratings right now. So they're being attacked. They're being attacked in a number of ways. Certainly they've tried the approach of taking away all their advertising. But then we had this wonderful situation where this lovely lady, and I say that with disgust and bile in my throat, this lovely lady, Kathy Rue, and I hope I'm saying her name wrong. I pray I am. But apparently she has claimed that Hannity and Tucker have, basically come after her from a sexual standpoint or tried to molest her. Tried to hit on her. Now, the one example she uses of Hannity's is pretty funny, in my opinion, and in all honesty, and I'll show you a picture of who she is in a second. But when I kind of say what he's getting accused of and what I think he's saying, I think it'll make sense. So in the lawsuit, claims she was a relatively regular guest on Hannity's primetime show until March 8, 2018. On that day, Mr. Hannity, on set and in front of the entire crew and completely unsolicited, because I'm sure she didn't do anything to be annoying. He threw $100 on the desk and said, look, any guy out there, I want you guys to take her out on a date for drinks at Del Frisco's. He repeatedly yelled, who wants to take her on a date? Someone take her on a date, which basically means this chick is uptight. Well, you'll see who I'm talking about in a second. She's uptight. Someone get her a date. Basically, someone get her L'd, if you know what I mean. Now, is that right or wrong? Is that okay? Well, she's kind of a guest on a program. It's kind of like Howard Stern if he says something that offends you, but you went on his show. I don't know. There's probably things that can be signed as well. But who is it? This chick. And as soon as I saw her picture, I was like, oh, the one person that plays the other side that just really do not like. Like, I just don't like her. I don't know what it is, if it's that smugness, if it's that arrogance. I mean, she's a beautiful, attractive lady. On the inside, she's horribly ugly. Yeah, no, darkness in there. But yeah, where her heart once was, I'm sure there's this neat, pristine, like, ice that exists around it. But yeah. So she continues to go after these guys, and apparently there are some inconsistencies that are starting to emerge in the claims made by her. So again, things are starting to fall apart with her. Not a big surprise. The deep state typically does accuse people. We had Kavanaugh. We had Stormy Daniels with Trump. We had Anita Hill. Who else? I'm missing all sorts of people. There's all sorts of people. That's the accusation thing. That's what they do. So again, we've had Hannity and Tucker Carlson both. They're going after the two guys that really have the largest voices on the airwaves right now as far as speaking some of these truths that are coming out. Now, they keep talking about how Russia obviously is affecting our elections. Everybody's known that, heard that, whatever. They don't really mention China, but I'm going to go ahead and call that one out. So China, yeah, of course, they're trying to affect our election. Duh. I mean, there was the embassy or whatever that they just closed down in Texas, and then they were burning a bunch of documents inside. I mean, we can only speculate as to what those documents were. But one of the speculations, which I love conspiracy theories, could very well have been fake ballots, that China was maybe printing for us. It's possible. Who knows? I mean, I'm not saying it is, but it is funny that they were burning all these documents. But China's no surprise that they're trying to hide stuff that they might have been doing that was mischievous. But we don't talk about one of the biggest spenders towards the, aside from Act Blue, but one of the biggest spenders, George Soros, who's foreign as well. I think he's from Austria or whatever the hell he's from. Someplace it's got an accent that sounds very different than us here. He's got that European sound to him, And yeah, he's spending $52 million trying to affect the election. But that's okay, right? Because he's trying to help Democrats. But if anyone's trying to get Democrats to lose or just cause doubt in the election any more so than the Democrats seem to do just naturally, well, that's different. But again, the juxtaposition, the double standard, the BS, the absolute total BS that's constantly around us is amazing. And not to be outdone, good old Murphy from New Jersey, not afraid of tyrants. New Jersey's gym owner was arrested after disobeying the lockdown order. So I don't know if you guys have heard the whole story about the Attilis gym. The owner, Ian Smith, he's 33, and his co-owner, Frank Trombetti, 51, were charged Monday with contempt, obstruction, and violating the Disaster Control Act after a state judge ruled that authorities could shut down a gym and lock its doors. They also face daily fines for each day they remain in contempt and must pay the state's cost in the pursuit of the contempt of court motion, according to the Cherry Hill Courier Post. Now, probably going to be dropped, or they're probably going to lose. There's probably going to be a GoFundMe that's going to be huge to help these guys out, basically sticking their thumbs up to this guy. And on top of that, it's funny that they literally, the whole thing with the door, because initially the state came in and padlocked this gym's door shut. So what did these owners do? They took the doors off the hinges, literally removed the doors, still padlocked, can't unlock that, oh shucks, and then just stuck it to the side, and basically there you go, just open, and they began living in the gym, essentially waiting for this moment to happen. So again, the next step has begun, and the people are seeing what this smug guy is all about. And again, swirling around the drain. A lot of things are coming to everyone's attention. So the whole orchestration, the way that these people were controlled, the way that these people, the deep state, were able to bring human beings into this country, the way that just this whole situation, Epstein, the way he was able to happen, there is something so large that is playing before us, that is unraveling and going down the drain. Like, we are witnessing the dying, death beat heart of the deep state. This is one of the most historic times in the history of this planet. And there's no way that they can win. There's too much that's done already. And we're watching the dying throes of this monster beast. Hopefully you guys appreciate what I'm doing. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the bell notification on the icons. There's a PayPal link below if you'd like to be able to donate. Always appreciate each and every one of you. I love you all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.